When I unboxed the Mac Mini M2 on ShortCircuit recently, I was pretty stoked that you could get a Mac computer with that much performance for that little money. Well, this is the Mac Mini M2 killer. When configured with twice the amount of RAM and twice the amount of storage, it's still currently cheaper with more performance. And of course, double the other things I said earlier. It's called the Minisforum UM773, and it's really small. It might even be smaller than the Mac Mini even. Wow, look at that. Oh, it totally is. It totally is smaller. Wow, this thing is tiny. Sweet, okay, cool. It's got some bounce on there. Ah, it's so small. Okay, we'll put it over there. There's some more box to unbox here. Got our usual propaganda. A slow boot time may be caused by, yeah. Do not remove the CPU cooler themselves. That's not a bad idea. Foam, power cable. What is this? Oh, it's a little stand. That's cute. Yeah, look at that. That's so cute. It sits in there, nice. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe I am supposed to leave this in there. I don't know. Whatever, we'll worry about that later. We got the power brick, of course, because of the size. No power brick. Yeah, that's something the Mac Mini has, though. Hey, look, Mac Mini. Holy crap, this thing's bigger than I remember. Okay. There you go. That's a lot smaller. So if I put the power brick here, still smaller. And you know what the funny thing is? Inside this Mac Mini, there's about this much empty space. So yeah, this, you know, the components in here and in here, it's kind of the same size. It's definitely thicker. Not by a huge amount, but definitely a little bit. Got an HDMI cable, that's always a nice inclusion. VESA mount, cool. What the f is that? Oh, AF5 SATA cable. This thing has a SATA drive slot too. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. It's just like the world's cutest SATA cable. It's so little. Should be very careful with this though. Don't want to lose it. These must be rubber feet. They're just like little rubber doodads. It has rubber feet already? Oh, maybe I'll read the manual. It's probably in there. Okay. Improper disassembly may cause damage to the motherboard and CPU. It could also reduce the liquid metal sealing tightness. It doesn't say for disassembly, just improper. So maybe if you properly disassemble it, you still get your warranty. But I didn't know it had liquid metal, that's cool. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, we got disassembly instructions, that's cool. You have to remove these bottom rubber pads, and they tell you to do that if you have to take it apart. Because you could buy this as a bare bones kit without any SSD or RAM, so you might actually have to take this thing apart right when you get it. And the fact that they include the extra feet is definitely a nice touch. You've got the RAM slot and the SSD right there, accessible. We will take this apart later, don't worry about that. They kind of made it sound like in the documentation that there was gonna be a slot you could slide an SSD into. You do have to take the bottom cover off to do so. But the fact that you can fit that in there, as well as being able to modify the storage, as well as being able to modify the RAM, there's a lot of flexibility in this thing. Machine base, okay, you are supposed to leave this little rubber thing on the base. Okay, cool, I think we gotten everything out of that we can. Holy crap, look at all that I/O. Oh my God. Because it's got an external power brick, there's gonna be a power jack, 19 volt. It's got 2.5 gig LAN, which is awesome to see on a device of this size and just devices nowadays in general. We've got, it looks like 4 or 5 gig USB type A ports, 2 HDMI 2.0 ports. So you're not gonna be able to do like 4K 120, not that the GPU in this could run games at that anyways. 4K 60, you could do high refresh rate, 1440p or 1080p. There's a Kensington lock, we've got lots of venting. And then on the other side, USB 4, which means in theory, you could use some Thunderbolt devices with this. You might be able to get high refresh rate 4K out of Thunderbolt. It would depend on if the GPU supports it. I'm not 100% sure. Got a combo jack for audio, just a 3.5mm standard. We've got 10 gig USB Type-C, not Thunderbolt or USB 4. It looks like there's 2 reset button holes. One of these is a clear CMOS. It's not labeled, so I'm not gonna stick anything in it. But it is there. This is a lot of I/O for a machine this small. Don't get me wrong, the Mac Mini also has a ton of I/O, especially if you spec the Pro model, which has 4 Thunderbolt ports. But it doesn't have 2.5 gig LAN by default. You have to pay to upgrade to 10 gig. It does have a headphone jack still, that's good. All right, power cable, power brick. I like that they include the short HDMI cables with this thing because it's kind of designed to go on the back of your monitor. And so you just, you know, you kind of like that. But if you have to do anything more than that, This is kind of inconvenient. I guess most people have an HDMI cable and like most computers don't come with them. Apple. Let's turn it on. But not before this message from our sponsor.
Thanks to PowerColor for sponsoring today's video. Add a little personality to your 7900 Red Devil card with PowerColor's new Devil Skin. Zah! Choose between 2 designs for your 7900 Red Devil. There's a mesh pattern generative Devil Skin or the sleek and smooth intrusive Devil Skin. Thanks to the hassle-free magnetic design, these bad boys are ready to install and they're available worldwide. To learn more about PowerColor's Devil Skins, check them out at the link below.
Usually the crappy thing with small computers is like, it's got 2 USB ports, you have to run a USB hub. Like this, you plug a keyboard and mouse in, you still have 2 more Type A ports and 2 Type C ports on the front. Okay, it does have a Wi-Fi card in it, that's good. On the specs page, it just says M.2 2230 Wi-Fi card slot, but it doesn't specify what type of Wi-Fi card or if it even comes with one. Clearly it does. Oh, it's Wi-Fi 6E, look at that. Would they ship this with 1 stick for the 16 gig config? On one hand, that gives you the ability to upgrade easily by just adding another stick, but on the other hand, you don't have dual channel memory, which kind of sucks for performance. Well, anyways, the CPU inside this thing is a Ryzen 7, holy numbers, that's a lot of 7s. Ryzen 7 7735HS with Radeon graphics, so it's got an RDNA 2 GPU with 12 compute units. It's a 8-core, 16 threads, so it's pretty powerful. Configurable TDP from 35 to 54 watts. It's based on the TSMC 6nm process. It's got a 3.2 gigahertz base clock, and I think it clocks up to like 4.75. There's a lot of performance in this very, very small package. The configuration they sent us must be the 16 gig 512 version, which you can get on pre-order right now for $560. The bare bones version with no storage and no RAM is $410. If you go to a 32 gig 1 terabyte, $660. And then the max spec, 64 gig 1 terabyte is $790. In comparison to an M2 Mac, if you're gonna go 16 gigs RAM 512 like this one, it's $1,000 US. That's without 10 gig networking, and this thing is looking pretty compelling if you don't need macOS. I'm curious to see what sort of TDP this thing runs at. Because it's a configurable TDP, I suspect usually Minisforum likes to max them out. All right, so I started installing a game, Apex Legends, because that seems like a game somebody could maybe play on this thing. The CPU is of course gonna ramp up to decompress those files as they come in from Steam. Right now we're downloading at like 70 megabytes a second over Wi-Fi, which is pretty great. 40% CPU usage? It's a little noticeable. Like noise-wise, it's not something I would say is loud. It sounds like a reasonable gaming laptop, which I guess it's kind of like the CPU of a reasonable gaming laptop that doesn't have a GPU. Like it's not crazy loud. Like if it was sitting on my desk next to me like this, I would probably find it a little bit annoying, but if it was on the back of my monitor, the noise goes away. You can't hear it at all when it's behind the monitor. I guess that's what they designed it for, so mission success for that. If it was under your TV, like as a home theater PC, which I definitely could see this being used for, I don't think you would have any problems at all, but right next to me, it's definitely audible. It looks like this thing is configured to use a max of 45 watts. This chip can go up to 54. I don't know if there's a BIOS option. We'll have to check for that. But I mean, in this 45 watt state, it's reasonably not too loud. It's only at, 75, 76 degrees on the hottest core. It's very managed. It's not thermal throttling. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the RAM is DDR5, which is great. Let's try a speed test on the SSD. It is 300 gigs of 480 used. Maybe not the best case scenario for testing the drive, but it is a more realistic scenario to test a drive in when it's got some usage than when it's empty, because it's going to be faster when it's empty. But this is fast. It's Gen 4, so I'm glad that they actually put a Gen 4 SSD in the Gen 4 slot. That's great. Speed test is done. We're getting around 5 gigabytes a second read, 3.5 gig write. The random IOPS on this drive, 500,000 read, 700,000 write. This is a very good drive that they've put in here. I'm not sure what it is. We'll see when we take it apart, but very good. Let's try Passmark. I saw for a second the CPU package power went up to 57 watts. Holy shit. It's not doing that anymore. It's probably because it was doing a floating point test, and that can really push the CPU. 64 watts, holy shit. I thought the max was 53 AMD, what the hell? Almost 120 watt power brick. I guess there's other things you could plug into this thing that would use power. Like if you plugged in like you're charging your phone at 10 watts, that's another 10 watts of power. You got some LEDs on there. There's a fan in there that's gonna draw some power. But it definitely has headroom, 24,000 in pass mark. The single threaded score is worse than an M2. You got 3,500 in pass mark on this thing, and M2 is around 4,000 single threaded. Not a huge difference, but definitely something you would notice. However, even though they're both 8 cores, the Mac Mini does not have hyper-threading, and it also has kind of like performance cores and efficiency cores, whereas this is all the same cores. We're getting 25,000 multi-threaded score. A Mac Mini is around 15,000. So there's a lot more CPU horsepower in this thing, especially if you're doing anything multi-threaded. Just for like let's run Cinebench. Almost 13,000, which puts it close to a first gen 16 core Threadripper. A 7700K is less than half the overall speed. It's only a 4 core, so that makes sense. Per core, it's about as fast as a 7700K. Seriously impressive chip. We're gonna game at 1080p 60. This monitor is only HDMI 1.4, and despite 1.4 technically being able to do 1080p 120 hertz, it's not giving me that option. So I think we're just stuck at gaming at 60 hertz. There's probably a way to make it work, but this is short circuit, not long circuit, so we must just tread on. I'm getting like 60. We're at absolute lowest settings. I do have texture streaming on, but this game still looks pretty good at low settings. If I stare at the ground, 120. Yeah, let's go. If there's anything on screen, it's 60 to 70, which is totally playable at 1080p. But again, this is it's like an APU. It's not dedicated graphics. I wasn't expecting this to knock my performance socks off, but it's enough to play a game like this. This probably looks better than it does on Xbox, okay? Don't at me, Xbox people. PS5 probably looks better. Oh, this is in Russian. Holy okay, anyways. Low settings. I do have FXAA on still. I'm getting stuttering because the ping is so high. I'm connected to a community server, but I'm getting between 100, 120 to 150 FPS. Like this is, come here, get knifed. I don't know why I didn't buy. He got me. Totally can play CSGO on this thing. It is a pretty capable esports gaming machine. If you just had it at your TV, can totally do that. I'm sure it's enough even to do some like basic video editing. It just feels snappy. When we were using that Pico PC that Linus did an LTT on, I'm a computer. Obviously way less powerful than this thing and a lot smaller, but it was, you know, you could say, man, you can use this for web browsing, you can use this for word processing. Trying to play a 4K YouTube video, it did work, but it was stuttery. This system has so much power that you could use this for pretty much anything basic, and it doesn't feel slow. It's got a Gen 4 SSD that makes it boot fast, it makes programs launch fast. It's got enough GPU power, it's got lots of CPU power. I mean, 4K video is like, it's nothing, who cares? It's kind of sad to have Crab Rave with no music, no audio. This would be a sick home theater PC, especially because you can put a bigger drive in it. It's got that 2.5-inch drive slot, which let's check out now. So we have their instructions for doing this. So this should be pretty easy. Oddly enough, they included extra these feet in case you need to take it apart, but they don't give you extra of these little ones. They're both stick-on, so. Oh Jesus, that thing just got destroyed. All of the sticky came off. Oh no. You could position feet in a manner where you don't have to take them off to take it apart. Especially as a product that does sell as a bare bones kit, it seems like nobody really thought about, wow, you know, people are gonna take this apart, why don't we just make it so they can take it apart and not have to peel off one-time use sticky things. There's also clips on the bottom here. Anyone that takes this thing apart at their house is gonna have a small screwdriver. They probably have something they could pry in there to unclip the little clips. It's just, when it's such a easily serviceable thing with you got your SSD, you got your RAM there. It seems like they could have just put a tiny bit more effort into making it just a little bit easier to open. It's not hard, but I mean, you could break these clips pretty easily. They're tiny, and once it's broken, you know, it never really goes back together properly, which kind of sucks. There's the SSD. It has a heat sink on it, or like a heat spreader. It's very hot in my hands. Kingston Gen 4. 512 gig. It's like an OEM drive. It's probably not something you could super easily buy, but it's probably pretty similar to their other SSDs. It doesn't look like it has a DRAM cache. It just has a bunch of NAND on there. And as suspected, just a single stick of RAM. Would be cool to see dual channel memory. If you buy a 32 gig or a 64 gig, I suspect it will be dual channel memory. DDR5 8 gig DIMMs are kind of hard to come by, so I kind of can see it. It also does give you that easy upgradability to just add one more stick in rather than having to buy 2 new sticks if you were to go from 16 to 32 gigs. But you are leaving a little bit of performance on the table for sure. It's got like a metal frame, and I think the whole metal frame will come out of the plastic. Man, they probably have a special tool in the factory for this. Look, it's nothing worse than the Purolator guy would do, okay? Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. We did it, Reddit. Wow, look at that cooler, holy shit. It's got 2 giant heat pipes. There's a set of fins over there and a set of fins over there. Where does the air come from? This must suck air through a heat sink. Like the intake is a heat sink and then blow the air back out through another heat sink. It's kind of cool. It's not sexy like the inside of a Mac Mini, but it is very, very dense. Sweet little piece of kit. Overall, I think it's not gonna be a crazy gaming rig, you know, whatever, but if you're just playing esports titles or you wanna run a Plex Media server or something like that off of this home theater PC, it's a serious amount of CPU horsepower, serious amount of IO, and it's reasonably upgradable. I really like this thing. So if you like this video, maybe check out that Mac Mini unboxing. That thing is also super cool, kind of in a bit of a different way, but it is still affordable compared to other Macs. Get subscribed. Bye.